What's up guys, today we're making one of my favorite desserts, cinnamon rolls. They're fluffy, gooey, and topped with a rich cream cheese frosting. Along the way, I'll explain why each step is essential to ensuring your rolls turn out perfect every time. Let's get into it. We're going to begin by making our dough. In a small saucepan, add 1 cup of milk on medium heat until it's scalding hot, but not boiling. If you have a thermometer, we're looking for the temperature to reach 180 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have a thermometer, it's ready when you see little bubbles form around the sides of the pot. Scalding the milk is going to denature the proteins that would prohibit gluten formation in the dough, resulting in a lighter and fluffier cinnamon roll. After scalding the milk, let it cool down to room temp, and then we're going to mix in 1 packet of instant yeast and a teaspoon of sugar. Give it a quick stir, and then we're going to let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. You're looking for it to get foamy and bubbly, which means the yeast is alive and active. Now, in a large bowl, add together 3 cups of all-purpose flour, a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, and a 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Give that a good whisk to make sure all the dry ingredients are evenly combined, and then we're going to set that aside for now. Then we're going to separate 1 egg yolk to add extra richness to the dough. This step is essential as the fat in the egg yolk is going to give the rolls a softer and more tender texture. By now, the yeast mixture should have formed a foamy layer on top, which is a clear sign that it's active and ready to use. In a stand mixer, we're going to combine the yeast mix, making sure it all gets in there. Then we're going to add 1 whole egg and 1 egg yolk. Add the hook attachment to the mixer and give that a quick mix to break up the eggs. Then we're going to add a 1/4 cup of melted unsalted butter and the dry ingredients to the mixer and turn it on medium speed. Let that knead for about 5 to 8 minutes. Eventually the dough should look like this, smooth, slightly tacky, and pulling away cleanly from the sides of the bowl. Give it a poke, and if it feels slightly elastic and tacky, it's ready to go. Without tearing the dough, we're going to pinch it off the hook and then add some neutral oil to a large bowl. Spread it around really well so the dough doesn't stick when it rises. Rub your hands in some of that oil and then place the dough right into the bowl. Cover it and let it rise in a warm spot for 60 to 90 minutes or until it doubles in size. While the dough has a chance to rise, we're going to make our filling. In a small bowl, add a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar and a teaspoon of lemon zest. We're going to rub the zest into the sugar to release its essential oils. This is going to add some depth to our filling. Then we're going to add a 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. Give that all a good whisk until it's well combined. It's okay to have some lumps here and there of brown sugar. It's all going to melt once the rolls are in the oven. Set that aside, and now we're going to work on the frosting. To our stand mixer, we're going to add 2 ounces of softened butter, 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Beat that together and add a 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. Give that a good mix until the powdered sugar is fully incorporated, periodically scraping down the sides of the bowl to make sure everything is well combined. Then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of milk to loosen up the frosting. Whip that on high speed until the frosting is light and airy. If you prefer a thinner frosting, you can add a little bit more milk, but I like it a little thicker so that it doesn't slip off the finished rolls. After an hour, our dough has doubled in size. To degas the dough, add some oil to your hands and lightly punch it down to release some of the air. Then we're going to oil our work surface and transfer the dough on top. Now we're going to roll it out into a 15 by 10 inch rectangle. Make sure to take your time here as you want an even thickness for consistent rolls. Periodically, we're going to lift the dough as we roll it out to make sure it isn't sticking to our work surface. Once the dough is starting to take shape, I like to use a ruler to make sure it's the right length and width. Then we're going to trim off the excess dough by following the ruler with the blade of the knife. Make sure you don't throw out those scraps. You can make mini rolls out of the scraps or stuff them with jam and make little fruit turnovers. Once the dough is trimmed, we're going to lift it up just like last time to prevent it from sticking to the surface. Now we're going to spread a 1/4 cup of softened butter onto the dough. I find it easier to just use my hands for this step to avoid tearing the dough. To do that, I like to place the butter on the dough and finish spreading it by gliding my hand across the surface. Once fully buttered, we're going to evenly sprinkle our cinnamon sugar filling right on top. It's going to look like a lot of filling at first, but a lot of it is going to melt out of the rolls, creating that nice caramelized gooey bottom, so really pack it in. Once the dough is filled, we're going to slightly lift it up by the long side and tightly roll it into a log. You want to be gentle here to avoid tearing the dough, but make sure to roll it tight. I like to use the palm of my hands to push the log down and towards me to ensure it stays tight. If the sides taper off a little bit, just gently push them back in and continue to roll. Using a serrated knife, we're going to cut the log into 9 even pieces. To make sure our slices come out even, I like to make slight indentations into the dough before slicing. Then we're going to slice into the log using a sawing motion to create individual rolls. My favorite part is seeing that signature swirl after cutting the first roll. Finish slicing the rolls and then place them into a parchment-lined 9x9 baking pan, with the ends pushing against the sides of the pan. This is going to ensure that our rolls don't unravel as they proof. And don't worry about the one in the middle, he'll be supported by the rolls around him once they double in size after proofing. We're going to let them rise in a warm spot for 30 to 45 minutes or until they doubled in size. While the rolls are rising, preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that the rolls have proofed, brush them with a 1/4 cup of heavy cream and then drizzle the rest evenly over top. This is going to keep them extra moist and gives them that golden color. Pop them in the oven on the middle rack and we're going to bake them for 20 minutes or until they're golden brown. Once the time is up, we're going to take the rolls out of the oven and let them cool. The parchment liner is going to make it a breeze to lift the rolls out of the pan, allowing them to cool down a bit quicker. I know it might be really tempting to try these right now, but let them cool for about 20 minutes before frosting. If not, the frosting is going to melt right off the rolls instead of spreading nice and evenly over the top. Once cooled, spread the cream cheese frosting over the rolls. You can adjust the amount to your liking, but I always feel like store-bought cinnamon rolls skimp on the frosting. That's why I like to pile it on, ensuring every bite has some frosting on it. Let's pull one apart to see what we're working with. The bottom is perfectly caramelized from the cream and sugar, and the texture is light with a delicious cinnamon flavor. Just check out this cross section. You can see the layers of cinnamon filling and how light and airy the texture is. This definitely beats Cinnabon any day of the week and is definitely worth the effort. And there you have it, guys, perfect homemade cinnamon rolls. I'm gonna go finish these in the back, but if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more recipes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.